Welcome back to our generic crafting tutorial series. In this episode, we are going to be doing our Quest Giver NPC, and this one is going to be pretty simple and pretty straightforward, so let's get right into it. So I'm going to open up my objects here where I put my NPCs. I don't know why I put them in objects, but I'm going to need a new blueprint here for an NPC. I'm just going to go ahead and use the base actor class again. If you want them to do animations or be controlled, you're going to want to use character or pawn. This is going to be called BP, let's just call it Class Giver. I'm going to open that up. And I'm also going to open up my vendor here, because I'm going to be using the same skeletal mesh and capsule component. And we can just copy that and pasta it right in. At least I don't really need this default scene root at any of these. We can always cover that scene root right up with our skeletal mesh. And ABP Manny, yeah, that looks good. So that's all I'm going to do here. Just make sure that we have the mesh and the capsule component in there, so we have something to look at. So we're also going to need our BPI interactions. So I'm going to go to my class settings and add the BPI interactions that we've been working with. And we're only going to need two variables inside of here. One is going to be a Boolean for B crafting, because if you remember correctly, we use the same enumerator for crafting and gathering classes in this series. If you're doing that differently, that's going to be totally up to you. And the other one's going to be the available class. And that is going to be of the E crafting type that we've been using for our classes and crafting and all of that good stuff. Both of these need to be instanced and exposed, so we can set them from anywhere on the map. So from our interact blueprint, we're going to do something a little bit different here. Instead of opening up a widget, I'm just going to go ahead and run another interaction event to the player to pick up the class if the class is available. So I'm going to open up my interaction, BPI interactions blueprint, and I need two more things here. I need a new getter, and this getter is going to be called I get class data. So I get class data. And this is going to return, again, the same two variables that we just made inside of the class giver. It's going to get if it is crafting. Oops. And it's going to get that class type. Okay, the crafting type enum. And we're going to need one more here. Make sure we categorize that as getters, by the way, so we don't get lost here. We're going to need one more here to be called inside of our player to try pickup class. I'm going to call this I try pickup class. And instead of having those two same variables as outputs, they're going to be inputs this time. So we're going to have crafting type and is crafting. Now we don't necessarily need to make this a separate inputs. We could just have a base trigger here, but I'm just going to go ahead and pass the inputs anyway. I don't feel like saving those inside of my player when we do the interaction logic in just a moment, so I'm just going to make it its own little thing that automatically gives those. So back here in class giver, we are going to take our getters here, the one we just made for I get class data, and we're going to make sure that we put this as the class that we set up when we drop this actor into the world, and if it is crafting when we drop that into the world as well. And we also need to get the interaction data here. The interaction type is going to be class giver, and the crafting type is going to be this available class. I don't think we actually use that, but I'm going to pass it anyway, just to be safe. So from our BPI interact, all we're going to do here is we're going to drag out, and we're going to call I try pickup class. And that is just going to call back to the player and say, yes, we want to pick up this class. We have interacted with the quest giver, so we want to go ahead and try to pick up the class. That's all we're actually going to do off of class giver. I can go ahead and get rid of vendor. I can get rid of interactions as well, and I can actually get rid of class giver since we are all done here. So when I drag my class givers out into the world, we're going to have our available class, blacksmithing, right, leatherworking. So go ahead and set these up as you as you see fit, wherever you want. I'm just going to set all mine up right here. Okay, so now that you've got all your class givers set up into the world, I'm actually just going to group mine together. That way I can move them around because I kind of don't like them being right here in the middle of the floor. Control G. I'm just going to put them over here somewhere. That way I can add a little label to them later on. But once you've got all those put out into the world with all of their values set up, we can go ahead and start working on the interaction logic to get working with that. So we're going to open up our player here. And this isn't going to be too complicated. If I figure out where I am. We're going to come over here to our capsule overlap that we've been using for our interactions. You're going to use whatever it is that you're trying to use for interactions. Maybe you're doing a line trace or something of that nature. And on our interaction type, we are going to pull out of class giver and we're going to start running some logic. I'll end up collapsing this into a node later on. So we need to get our current interactable, which, if you remember correctly, is being set on this does implement interface. If it is true, then we're removing the interaction widget, and then we are setting the current interactable to the other actor that we're overlapping with. That way we always have kind of a reference to this actor class. And we're going to say I get class data. And that way we can see if we already have this class obtained or not. Because if I already have this class obtained, even though in our class manager we actually wrote logic to make sure that we can't pick up the same class more than once, I also kind of want to check that here just to be 100% sure that I'm not giving a bad interaction message to the player. So we're going to get crafting classes, and we're going to get our gathering classes. And we're just going to make sure here that we do not have the one that we're trying to find. So we're going to say contains. I'm going to break that out, and I'm actually going to run this on a select from crafting. And if it is crafting, true. If it is gathering, it'll be false. Flip those around so it's not messy. And run that into the contains. And we're going to see if the selected class index, or array here, I should say, has the class that we're trying to pick up in it. Okay. And then we're going to set that to our can interact here. So this is going to determine whether or not the interact widget will show up. And that's all we're going to do. And we're going to get our PC custom, and we're going to display our interact message, or however you're doing your interact message. Okay. Set that can interact right into can interact. And for the message here, I'm actually going to run a selector. That way we can get a little bit better cosmetics, right? We can see what we're trying to pick up. And I'm going to run this selector into our class of get crafting type as string. I'm going to plug crafting right into that. And we can get that as string here. I actually want to put this pick A from this selector into this contains. So if we already have the class, it'll give message A. And if we do not have the class, it'll give message B. So I'm going to go ahead and write an append for each of those. It's going to need 3 values. This is going to be class. Make sure you give it a space. Otherwise, you're not going to have spacing. I'm going to have space. Already obtained. And I'm going to have another one. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. I have another one down here that says pick up space, right? Space class. We're just going to plug this string into each of those. And that's going to be off of my B. And that's all we really need to do here. One more thing would be this trigger. So our I try pickup class. But first I'm going to collapse this just to get it out of the way. And this is going to be display class giver interaction. That way it's just kind of out of the way here. I don't have to do this reroute. I don't like ugly reroutes. That right in off of class giver. Yeah, right here is fine. I'll probably end up making some space for these later on. So now we're going to do this I try pickup class, and that's going to be pretty simple here. That's just going to call our AC class manager, and it's going to say try pickup class, and we're just going to call that right here. plug those in. And we could add an event log here if we wanted. I think we added event logs inside of the try pickup class. But I'll just add another one trying to pick up class. And if you really want to, you can go ahead and format that, right? Get the class type as string and plug that in. But I don't think we're going to have any issues here with this. And I'm going to add this up here with all of my other interaction events. That way they're all still kind of grouped together. So when I press play and I come in here as my player, I can run over to my classes, or my class givers, and it should pick up alchemy class, pick up jewelry class. Yeah, I guess I did jewelry class twice. Thread working. And yeah, as expected, we forgot to put a not in there. So maybe you caught that. We were going a little bit fast. Contains not. So we want to make sure that it does not contain that, and plug that into our can interact. This one here is fine because it's going to pick a class already obtained if it is contained. But we want to be able to interact with it if we do not have that class. Let's press play now and run back over to our vendors, or I should say class givers. And now we're going to see that we're able to pick this up. So if I pick up the herbalist class, we can see Shift F1 so I can get over there. Now we now have that herbalist class. But if I tried to pick up smithing, right? Mining class already obtained, smithing class already obtained, I can't do anything. And the rest of these I can just go ahead and pick up as needed. So that is our class giver NPC. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up the crafting benches in this episode. And I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit. I don't like how everything is kind of so smudged up in the center of the area. I'm also going to do one more thing here. I'm going to go into my character movement. I'm just going to set my max movement speed to something a little bit faster so I can kind of get around. It's set to 500 centimeters per second. Let's go ahead and set that to like 5,000. That way we are zooming. So with these crafting benches, when we set them up, we did this weird little thing with the meshes and the arrays. I don't actually want to do that. That was just kind of to show another way that you can possibly set these things up. So instead of having an array of meshes, I'm just going to have a single mesh for each one. Because they are all the same. So we're just going to do that and make sure it's still instance exposed. We're going to set that to the mesh. And the materials can still be an array, but we don't need to get the crafting type as index. I'll just get index 0 and plug that in. But this is so that if your bench, right, has multiple different... I guess I should go ahead and delete that as well. That way it doesn't get too confused. Still trying to pick it up as an array. Call this crafting bench, so SM crafting, since these are all the same. I called it bench. SM bench, since they're all the same, that way I don't have to go through and set them up. But if your bench had multiple materials slots, then you would do a for each here like we did earlier, and go ahead and set those with the array element and the index. Mine only has one, so I'm not too worried about it. There's one little thing I wanted to do in here with the crafting bench. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. That way I can add in the array, the little element there. That way I can get all these the right color. And I put that in objects, bench, mesh, bench, blacksmithing. And again, you'll probably have different mesh, right, for each of these, since they all do different things. You probably want like pots and pans on your cooking mesh. Probably like an alchemist tool set on your alchemy mesh. Just for the simplicity of this video, I just used all of the same ones. So now that I have all those set up, I'm going to go ahead and press play. And I should be able to walk over those. And just to make sure, yeah, I don't have the alchemy class, right? I don't have the cooking class. I don't have the jewelry. I do have wood crafting, right? Not thread spinning, not leather working, and not smithing. So if I go over to wood crafting, we're going to see all of the recipes for wood crafting. Yep. See all of our planks, our shields, our bows, all that good stuff in here. And if I come over here, and zoom, pick up my alchemy class, I should be able to go use that alchemy bench. Use alchemy bench. And yes, now I can use this alchemy bench and I can see all of the different potions. I can inspect them, right? See that I need blue herbs and supreme water. But I can't actually craft anything because nothing is available to me. I don't have any materials. So, yeah. that is how that's working. I can hold E on this. It's not going to open it up. I'm not able to use it. So if I go over to one of my vendors here, I think it was this one. I set one of the vendors up to be cooking and one of them up to be alchemy. But I'm just going to go ahead and buy all of these cooking materials and all of the alchemy materials real quick. And probably pick up the cooking class. That way we can see that in action. We can actually get the consumables in our inventory and try to make sure that we are working with those properly. And I click on available. I can make small health potions. I can make 10 of those. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And yeah, we did it. Yay! That gave me alchemy level 9, which is one off from actually alchemy level 10. But that's all for here. So we have our class givers, right? So we can pick up whatever classes we don't already have. And we can go ahead and use our crafting benches. We have all these set up to use. So thanks for watching. In the next episode, we're going to go over the inventory. And that is just going to be a pretty basic inventory structure. So we're going to fill out all these text blocks with the items that we can equip in each slot. It's going to be pretty bare bones and basic, but it does work as a basic inventory system. If you're enjoying the videos so far, I urge you to join our Patreon. For just $3 a month, you'll get access to all of the videos in this series as soon as I create them. Always available on Patreon, always free, and ready to go. You'll also get a copy of the example project so you can follow along step by step with a real visual guide in the project.